When we moved to the new shelter, we were told, do not engage with Sarah. She is the meanest, scariest woman on the streets. So you could imagine, I really wanted to know her badly. When we would take the children over to St. Vincent de Paul for lunch sometimes, I could look up the sidewalk and all 400 men standing in line would literally part off the sidewalk so Sarah could come down the middle so she wouldn't hurt them. One day I was standing in my classroom and I could hear this loud, angry voice swearing at my friend Paul at the front desk. She could put 5 swear words in one sentence, so I was really intrigued with her, so I really wanted to listen. So I snuck out to see why she was yelling and screaming. She said, "Paul, how dare you? Look outside, it's freezing." And my sweet friend Paul said, "I am following the shelter rules. You are a single woman, and this is a family shelter. Go out of the building and go down a few city blocks and go to the single women's shelter to get your coat." It was so cold outside. She had sweats that only made it to her knees and a short sleeve shirt. And as I looked over the counter, I could see stacks of coats. So I snuck up behind her and I tapped her on the shoulder so she wouldn't hurt me, and then I jumped back. And I said, "Sarah, I don't work for the shelter. I work for the school district. They let me break the rules. I will give you a coat." She said, "Where is it?" All I could do was breathe. And I said, "I think I've got one in my classroom. Just follow me." I got her into my classroom, hoping and praying that another adult would be in there and save me. But we were all alone. I picked up our great big white furry coat and I put it up on her shoulders. And really, I was not intending to be cute. I really meant, "Okay, go." So I turned her to me, I buttoned her top button, and as I buttoned the top button, I said, "Okay, you're beautiful." I have never seen bigger alligator tears pour down a woman's face. As she exclaimed, "Nobody ain't never said that to me before in my whole life. You will be my best friend forever." Really, all I could think of was, yay. My favorite encounter, 2 favorite encounters. I was very, very pregnant carrying Mackenzie. And Sarah would greet me at the door each day and hold my belly, and she would say, "I'm not leaving until she kicks." And in my heart, sometimes I'd say, "Damn it, kick now." My husband is sure that's why she's naughty. My other favorite encounter was running down the sidewalk very late for work, and I could hear this loud, loud, angry voice yelling, "Hey, Chubby!" And I said to myself, it is not me. And 2 homeless men ran to my side and they said, "It's you." And they said, "Stace, she has the biggest glass thing and she is running at you. Please let us watch and stay by you." I said, "Oh, you're fine. She won't hurt me." I said, "Kenny, for the first time in Sarah's life, she knows she belongs to my group. She is my sister." The simple act of bending the rules and giving her a coat when she was cold told her that I'm your friend now. She ran right to my tummy, put this great big glass vase on my belly, and she said, "I stole these for you." Well, we did have a chat about stealing. And then I took them in and we drew them, we painted them, we laughed about them. You see, they were dead flowers laying on the outside of the vase. And Kenny said, "Why didn't you just tell her they were dead?" And again, I had to remind him, Sarah gave those to me. Sarah took the time to walk over to the nurse's station and steal those for me. I was going to do something I'm not very proud of. I was getting ready to give birth to Mackenzie. I'd given these people 5 good years of my life. And to be perfectly honest, I wanted to raise my baby. And I had struggled night after night over whose babies I owed. So one very quiet evening, the night before I was to be induced, I snuck out of the shelter with one small box and only my superintendent knowing that I was leaving. I got out the door and Sarah grabbed me. I dropped my box. Many homeless men came to my rescue. She said, looked me right in the eye, and she said, "I hate you." She said, "Word is on the street you are leaving, and you are not coming back." I said, "You're right. Sarah, I want to raise this baby." She said, "Good, go. But I want you always to remember they'll turn out just like me." I went to bed that night so stressed. Greg said, "Honey, there will be a good replacement. You'll be fine." I got out of bed in the middle of the night. I couldn't sleep. I laid there and laid there. I got up early in the morning, grabbed my Levi's and my keys, and I decided that maybe the loss process needed to begin. So as Greg was sitting up in bed saying, "Hello, we're having a baby today," I said, "I'll see you. I will be there." And he panicked. But I walked in the shelter. I walked in the nursery. I walked in the kitchen. I walked in the family room, and I hugged all my moms. And then I got to the clinic where my sweet friend, Dr. Allison, has picked more lice out of my hair than you will ever want to know. And as I walked into her office, she said, "Look in my office." I got right to the doorway, and there sat Sarah. Sarah said, "What took you so long? I've been sitting here all morning." Allison whispered, "Just lie and then go have your baby." And I thought, what am I going to lie about? Sarah said, "Allison, tell her our plan." Allison said, "Stacey, the guys on the street and Sarah have been in here many times this morning to tell me you must strap that newborn baby to your chest and continue teaching school." On the way to the hospital, I passed that idea on to my very conservative husband. And he said, "Over my dead body, you will not have my precious baby there. Do you remember all the drive-by shootings? Do you remember the tuberculosis? And the lice you brought home to my house? When Mackenzie was 2 weeks old, I couldn't sleep. So I did what comes natural to me. I got out of bed and I began to write. And I wrote about every child that had ever lived with us, about every child that taught me the power of investing in a child. I wrote about the children who lived with me while their daddy was in prison and their mommy was in rehab. And when I finished 8 days of solid writing, I really thought that I had a family record so that my future children and my children would understand why this job was so important, being a teacher. And so I handed my journal to Greg, and I expected to say, "Greg, I can leave now. I have a record of what we have done." But out of my mouth came, "Greg, I'm sorry. I have to go back." And he said maybe the writing process was to remind you your work is not done. But all I ask is that you don't let them hold my brand new baby. You're laughing because you know I can't follow those rules. So I pulled up the next day, and yes, I could hear Greg in the back of my mind, but my very favorite drug dealer pulled up next to me. Johnny was a beautiful, beautiful man. We shared the same birthday. I took him to lunch more than I probably should have. And he got inside my car, opened up the back door. He looked at Mackenzie, and he looked at me, and he said, "Wow, we did a great job together, didn't we?" We did. And then, with the tender and loving care of a daddy, he took her out of the car seat, held her against his neck, and cooed at her and kissed her and told her how much he would protect her. And then he walked her into the shelter and he handed her to Sarah. You can imagine I did not go home that night and say, drug dealer held her first, then Sarah. Sarah held her for just a few minutes. My babies are great nursers, so when my McKenz felt her skin, she began to look for food. The medical staff about had a breakdown, but there was a peace that raced through my body as she began to hand the baby back. And she said, your baby will do more for your students than you will ever do. Now, I knew what that meant. That meant thank you for not just being a teacher. Thank you for being a human being. Thank you for sneaking me in the back door and feeding me pudding when I was hungry, when you knew you could lose your job by feeding me. I took Mackenzie into my arms, and I didn't quite understand the value of that baby until I began to read out of their journals. And I'm going to close with a journal entry. This little girl's job in life was to walk her mom and daddy to the liquor store every night, make sure they finished their bottle, and then, by her account, get them home to the right house. I asked her what made them, asked that day, what makes you happy? And here is hers. My teacher, she's funny. She really likes her baby. You can just tell by the way she kisses her all over and leaves lipstick marks on her face. Watching her makes me happy. But here's what I really wanted you to hear. In big, bold letters at the bottom of her journal, she wrote, I wish somebody would have loved me like that when I was a little girl. So in one short line, this lonely little girl summarized the aching, longing wish of every child. Forget homelessness or poverty. And let's be honest, every one of us, to be loved completely and unconditionally. Ladies and gentlemen, you are in the best position in the whole world. You are investing in children. You are raising their families to levels they never believed they could be in. And you are changing your communities for the better. I commend you for all you do. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.